he's like, this probably isn't good. He doesn't take insulin yet, but he's like, this probably isn't good. But if I ever crave sweets, I just have it with some alcohol because like ah. So does, like you said, the alcohol.
Well, it would
I just
depend on the alcohol too. Like if
Yeah,
you're
I'm
drinking
curious.
like a margarita versus straight tequila, there's going to be a difference.
Yeah, I mean, a shot of vodka. I mean, I don't think that's healthy, obviously.
I
So,
don't
but
think so
like,
either.
but there is some research out there. Like we have our rum soaked peanuts that talks about like a little bit. I think it's like a half an ounce or something like that can actually help lower blood sugar. But I don't know. There's other reasons to avoid it as well.
And welcome to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. How are you guys today? We're excited to have you. All three of us are here today, which doesn't happen all the time anymore.
My
So
fault.
we're in for a good webinar, I can already tell you. Those of you on YouTube, on Facebook, thank you so much for joining. Somewhere there, you're going to see a link where you can find more information about what we're talking about, or if you want to join future webinars, maybe you're interested in just watching the replays. If you go to bartonwebinar.com, there is going to be a link to show you our YouTube channel, and you can subscribe to that so you're notified anytime we upload a new webinar. We have quite a few. So we do type 2 on Wednesdays. We talk about type 2 primarily. And then on Thursdays, we also have our Healthy Heart webinar. And so we have lots of Dr. Saunders teaching available for you. So don't miss these. These are phenomenal teachings. And he's not, I'll just say, he's not like most doctors that I may have met who are teaching about the things that they learned 20 years ago. He's in doing the research now. He has his own patients, and we just so appreciate him. So this information, I just feel like, is really invaluable. And guess what? It's also free. So thank you, Joe, for that. We're excited to have a free webinar. Let's go ahead and have you guys, if you're hopping on, we got quite a few of you hopping on already. Let us know in the chat where you guys are tuning in from, because of course we love to see that. I'm actually in South Dakota. Joe's in South Dakota today too. That's pretty abnormal. He hasn't been home for a while.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
How about you, Dr. Saunders?
I'm in Goleta, near Santa Barbara.
Nice. Sometimes I get your offices confused. I can't remember where you are, but Goleta, Solvang, Santa Barbara. Yeah, I don't know. All those fun places, all the warm places. That's all I ever know. Okay, so today, guys, we're going to be talking about type 2. So for first little while, we're going to do some teaching with Dr. Saunders, and then we're going to open it up for your questions. So if you are joining us live on Zoom, be sure to post those in the Q&A. That's just the easiest place for us to kind of manage the questions. We'll do our very best to get to as many of those as possible. Facebook and YouTube, you can post in the comments as well. Again, Barton Webinar is going to be your hub to find all things. If you're brand new, if you're like, who are these people? Barton Webinar is going to be a good place for you to figure out who we are. Although we do talk about it, we've done over 200 of these episodes. So we have mentioned kind of our stories, and they do come up as we chat, but we're going to dig right into this today. First of all, I'm just going to mention, though, that Dr. Saunders is not your doctor. And so anything that we say or we recommend, you may want to chat with your primary health person to make sure that that's a good fit for you, mostly because all of us are so different, right? What works for one person may not work specifically for the next person. What else? Okay, today we're going to talk about type 2, what your doctor doesn't know about type 2 may be harming you. And I said harm because some of you may remember the book that came out years ago. I don't know when it came out. It was What Your Doctor May Not Know About Nutritional Medicine May Be Killing You. And then later they had to change the title of the book, but I did get one of those original ones that said killing. And I think they had to change it to What Your Doctor Doesn't Know About Nutritional Medicine or something like that. And that was it. That's all they could say. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But Dr. Saunders, tell us, when we go to the doctor, we find out we have type 2. There's a pretty standard protocol, it seems like. What usually happens in a traditional setting when someone finds out that they have type 2?
That's a really interesting question. It's an interesting title too, because when doctors go on strike, the death rate drops like dramatically, and then it doesn't come back up until the doctors start working again. And that's happened everywhere in the world. And that's kind of the idea of your doctor killing everybody goes, ha ha ha, that's really funny. But it's a thing. It's a real thing. In fact, controversial. Well, there's some controversy over the most likely cause of death that somebody has, because the Institute of Medicine did some research and said it's either number 1 or number 3 is properly prescribed medications as one of the top 3 causes of death. And so so it's not really, it's a not outlandish claim to say what your doctor doesn't know is killing you. So what the way we look at it is when somebody comes in to a medical doctor and they say, gosh, I'm urinating frequently and I'm gaining weight like crazy and I'm just having all this trouble with my energy levels. And so they do tests and they say, oh, your blood sugar is high. Or you have sugar in your urine, glucose, right? So then that's a diagnosis of diabetes. So at that point, the doctor says, okay, so they will prescribe a medication. Which medication they prescribe depends on the doctor. They have a choice of this long list of medications, and it's getting longer every day because diabetes is the #1 fastest growing illness in the world. So all the drug companies want to get in on that and provide some medication that people can take every day for the rest of their lives, because that's how they get money. So there's a long list of medications, and the one that the doctor prescribes depends on a lot of factors. So for example, if the drug company sends a representative from the drug company to the doctor's office, then the doctor will go, that sounds like a good thing. I'm going to try that one, and starts prescribing that to people. And of course, the representative from the drug company says, well, our product is better than their product. And, this is the latest and greatest. It's better than everything that's been out before, and all of that stuff. And so doctors look at that as, oh, this is better because it's new. And so people come into their office, oh, I just had someone in my office tell me about this new medication. Why don't you try it? And so they prescribe it. Or some doctors are like, nah, I just go with the old things. And so, everybody gets glyburide, which has been around for like 50 years and or something like that. Some doctors will immediately put people on insulin, and some doctors kind of avoid insulin. And that depends also sometimes on whether drug companies are marketing to that doctor specifically or not. So that's how things work in a doctor's office. So all you need is a symptom of some kind and a test, and the test shows that you have high blood sugar. Then you're immediately started on the medication. We don't agree with that. We think that you should be diagnosed first, because the diagnosis has to include what's going on, first of all, and why. So you need both things. So most doctors will not even distinguish between type 1 and type 2. So if you were to ask your doctor, do I have type 1 or type 2? They'll automatically say, well, type 2, because it happened when you're an adult. But a lot of adults aren't making insulin in their pancreas, or they have insufficient insulin, and that's why their blood sugar goes up. How would you distinguish that? Well, without a test, you're kind of stuck with possible things. So if your blood sugar is high and you're losing weight, it's probably type 1. If your blood sugar is high and you're gaining weight, it's probably type 2. So that's kind of a quick and dirty method, but that's not really a diagnosis even. That's just an idea. So if your blood sugar is high and you're losing weight, you might need insulin. That actually might be a good thing for you. If your blood sugar is high and you're gaining weight, you definitely do not want insulin, because that's going to make you gain weight more and give you more insulin resistance and create more problems, including all of the complications of diabetes. So I think personally that, or as a professional, that distinguishing between the two types of diabetes is essential. It's the essential next step before you start any treatment at all. So, so all you need are 4 tests. You need a glucose level, which is in the metabolic panel, and then hemoglobin A1C, which gives you the average blood sugar over a long period of time, and then a insulin level, and the insulin is kind of immediate. It comes and goes. Like 10 minutes later, it's going to be different. So it'll give you an idea, maybe. So we do the C-peptide. C-peptide gives you more of an average over a period of time. So those 4 tests will tell you if you're type 1 or type 2, and that's just the simplest way of actually knowing the difference. So if your blood sugar is 200 and your insulin is 3, your pancreas is not, and your C-peptide is 0.5, then your pancreas is not working well. And so sometimes all the doctor will do is a hemoglobin A1C, just that one test. But what does that mean? I've had patients that have their insulin levels are 60, which is 10 times what it should be, like literally 10 times more than it should be. But their hemoglobin A1C is 5.1, which is normal average blood sugar. Well, what does normal mean? No, that's average. So what happens is you eat and your blood sugar goes up to 300, and then it goes down and goes down and goes down low because you release a whole bunch of insulin. You got a ton of insulin coming out. And so that's an entirely different type of diabetes that you never will find out from doing just the hemoglobin A1C. The only way you're going to do that is to look at what's the C-peptide, what's the insulin level. You have to know those in order to get that information. So a lot of people have come to me where their doctors told them, oh, you don't have diabetes, you're fine. And then I test them and I say, no, you actually have insulin resistance, an excessive amount of insulin. And yes, it's bringing your blood sugars too low. And that's why you feel terrible all the time, is because it's going up too high and down too low. So it's really important to test. That's just basics. And then once you know you have type 1 or type 2, then the next step is to say, do I have excessive amounts? Because type 2 is too much. That's why it's type 2, right? Type 2 is too much. Too much what? Too much glucose, too much fat, too much, carbohydrate, too much protein, too much insulin, too much glycogen, too much starch. All of that is just too much. So we have a really simple way of handling that. This is what we do in the Diabetes Solution Kit, is we tell you what to do about too much. And then exactly what to do is in the book. So take the book, read the book, go through it and say, okay, phase 1 is a really simple detox. That's all it is. And you're detoxing from what? Well, primarily from the carbohydrate portion, which is one way of doing it. And we chose that because it's the easier way. And most people respond to that better than doing it other ways. There are other ways. You can fast. You can do a low-fat diet. There are other ways. It's not just one way, but we chose this way because it fits more people. So if you're not having, or if you're not having results or success with the Diabetes Solution Kit, this is why we have the webinar. It's free. Come on the webinar, ask a question, say, dude, I'm having these issues, and we discuss them. So and some people, I mean, I'll bet you could go back in previous webinars and find the answer to your question, just about anything that people have come up with. So bottom line, find out what you have first. When you come to the doctor's office, they won't tell you. You have to ask. You need those 4 tests, and then you can determine if you have type 1 or type 2, and then you'll know what to do. If you have type 2, go right into the Diabetes Solution Kit. You don't need drugs. If you have type 1, you need insulin. So one way or another, that's the essence of where to start.
Yes, this is good stuff. Dr. Saunders, tell us a little bit about your background and how you became interested in this specifically.
Well, it became a big issue is the problem. So my background, I graduated from UCLA Medical School, and then I did a family practice residency, which means I learned everything. I did surgery, I delivered 200 babies, took care of kids and adults and older adults, and I had nursing home patients, and I just did everything. So then I went to work for the county of Santa Barbara. While I was there, we had a lot of people with diabetes, and they were not getting better. So I started researching things. Hey, what do you do about this? And what do you do about this? And I looked up the insulin tests, and the endocrinologists, these are the people that are specialists in diabetes, are saying, don't do an insulin test. You don't need that. That's not useful. And I found it so useful. I'm going, wow, now I can tell the difference whether they have type 1 or type 2. I can know if they need drugs or not. And I was using drugs at the time. I didn't know any different. And then I started researching a little more, and I ran across some articles that were like, you know what? If people go on a very low carbohydrate diet, their diabetes reverses. And I was like, whoa, shocking. So I started doing more of that. I'm going, hey, dude, you know what? You can get off these drugs, because some of them, like, they feel terrible because they feel lack of energy, from the drugs. So I told them, look, you have another option. You can do this. And the ones that would, not everybody would do it, of course, but the ones that would say, wow, that's great. I feel so much better. I have more energy, and they didn't need any medication, and they had normal blood sugars. And I was like, yeah, success. Well, the county of Santa Barbara didn't really like what I was doing. So taking people off medications and stuff, because it's not the standard of care. The standard of care is someone comes in with a symptom, you give them a drug. That's the standard. That's what everybody does. That's what you're supposed to do. So if you have a doctor that isn't doing that, then that doctor's in the wrong place. So I had to leave and go off on my own. And so being on my own made it even better, because I was researching everything and everyone that came in. So I'm looking at migraine headaches and going, wow, we can get off the drugs for migraine headaches and do something else. And then heart disease is, wow, heart disease is something preventable and curable, and you don't need stents, and a bypass surgery doesn't even help except for chest pain. And so as I went through all of this stuff, I started researching it more and more. And then one day I was with Joe Barton, and Marty was there. I don't know, a few other guys. And we were sitting around, and we were talking about diabetes, because we had this little book on diabetes. It was before the diabetes solution kit. We had this little book on diabetes, and one of the guys there, I think it was Marty, said, well, nobody knows why it happens, why people get diabetes. And I'm like, I know why people get diabetes, and I took the whiteboard and I went over everything. Okay, so this is what's happening. You're getting too much glucose, too much carbohydrates, too much insulin, blah, blah, blah. And then the cells get packed with sugar, and they stop making insulin receptors. So now you're insulin resistant. And they were like jaw dropped. They're like, can you do a talk on this? And I was like, okay. So that 2011, we did the diabetes talk, and it was the talk, we call it. And that's where I spelled it all out. This is what it is. What I was saying wasn't new. The research was all there. I just put it together in a way that made it easy for them to understand. So then we get the diabetes solution kit, and everything comes out, and the rest is history. Here we are.
I remember
So
that.
I was at that talk.
Yeah, I think you're talking about me, you, Marty, Ray Edwards was there.
Yeah, Ray.
And someone else, I don't remember, but yeah, we were in Arizona, and
Yeah, in Arizona.
Yeah, kind of blew us away. And so yeah, that diabetes reversal talk. We had the big reveal of all the sugar packets, how many? We had 35 5-pound bags of sugar.
150 pounds of sugar a year is what the average American eats.
Yeah.
And then when we
That's-
were done showing that visual, everyone, they were like, okay, what do we do with all the sugar? And nobody wanted to take any of it home because they had just learned about it.
I still have that in my closet. I don't know. I'm just gonna probably have to dump it somewhere.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was so good. And that's what we appreciate just about the way that Dr. Saunders teaches is he gives us a visual as to what's happening in the body, because it can seem daunting and overwhelming and hard to understand sometimes when we sit in the doctor's office, or maybe they're not explaining it to you. And so that's why this webinar also was created, just to make it make sense to the everyday person so that they can make the changes to improve their health. And so we're so thankful. We are 200 plus webinars into this. And yeah, it's pretty exciting. So good. But it's fun to hear the story about how that started and just kind of to review that. And, you know, Dr. Saunders comes from a medical background and he was frustrated with the way things were handled. And he did what he knew was right and found a better way. So we're thankful for that. Here is what he's talking about when he says the diabetes solution kit. And now this is our program that, I shouldn't say that. I did oversee some of this, but that we put together. This is what Dr. Saunders recommends to his patients that come into his office. And so this is what we're talking about on the webinars. And, you know, you can get this for under $20. So pretty inexpensive. I should say you can get the downloadable version for that. So if you're interested in that, you can get it today. Download it to your computer, your phone, your tablet, whatever. And if you want to pay extra for the hard copy, we can ship this to you as well. But through this, we talk about the different things to eat, how to eat. We talk about stress, exercise, all of the things that we talk about on this webinar. And we have a lot of people who have had great success with this. And in fact, they're on the webinar right now, even commenting. Some of you will see. But for those of you who are just getting started, this is a place where you can go to ask those questions, just like Dr. Saunders mentioned. And so I'm going to actually dig into some of those now and see what we have. And someone had said, what is the best way to lower my A1C? My result blood work again had elevated numbers.
Well, A1C, think of it as an average over about 3 months, because that's how long the red blood cells are in your blood, is about 3 months. So it gives you a sort of a rough average. But remember, the average is just an average. You could be higher, you could be too high and too low and have a normal hemoglobin A1C. So just because you have a normal hemoglobin A1C does not mean you don't have insulin resistance or diabetes. So it's important to do all of the tests to see what you have. So the question of how to lower your hemoglobin A1C is to lower your average blood sugar. And the best way to do that is not to take pills. The best way to do that is to do the kit, to actually get the diabetes solution kit and follow it. And the people that have followed it, almost everyone, there have been exceptions. People have come on and said, hey, I've been doing it faithfully and it hasn't worked. Almost everyone says, wow, you know, within a week, a month, or a few months, their hemoglobin A1C is down to normal. Because when you're restricting carbohydrates, you're not getting enough carbohydrates for your body to use every day. So there's not enough glucose around. So it forces your body to use fat for energy, which then takes the excess glucose out, takes the excess fat out, and you start using that for energy. So that is a very useful thing to do.
Awesome. More questions coming in. Let's see. Here's a question from Leslie. She says, I'm pre-diabetic. Aside from diet, how important is water and exercise to reducing glucose?
Okay. We have some whole discussions on water and exercise, for that matter, in other webinars. So just basically, water is overrated. If you're thirsty, drink water. If you're not thirsty, don't force yourself to drink water. People are getting hyponatremic. They're getting low salt in their blood. Sodium is low. Potassium gets low. They get dehydrated because they're drinking too much water. Don't drink too much water. Drink just enough water. If you're thirsty, fine, drink water. That's why you have a thirst mechanism. And if and then the other part was exercise. So if you have these muscle cells and they're packed with sugar and they're packed with glycogen and they're not making insulin receptors anymore, so you're really insulin resistant, how are you going to get all that sugar out of the muscle cell? Well, there's a simple way: exercise. Start running, start doing stuff. Do your treadmill, do your cycling, do your yoga. Whatever your exercise is so important for making you insulin sensitive. And that's really, exercise is so important for that.
David said, is there then any reason to do the insulin test? Why not just do the C-peptide test?
Yeah, in a sense, yes, the C-peptide test. Okay, because the insulin is the immediate. So the way I interpret it, the C-peptide gives you sort of an average, so you can see if it's high or low. But the insulin is the immediate. It doesn't change. So, and you measure that against the blood sugar, which is also immediate. The blood sugar is going to change in 10 minutes, and the insulin is going to change in 10 minutes. But at that moment, you can do an analysis of looking at your blood glucose. So if your glucose is 200 and your insulin is 5, then you've got a problem. Your pancreas isn't making enough insulin to take care of all that glucose, right? And then the C-peptide, because it's averaged, it's going to be more normal, and it's not going to tell you that you're may not have enough. So, or the other way around sometimes, because the C-peptide is average, and you have your glucose is low, but your insulin is high. That might be a response to glucose or eating or something, and your C-peptide is still going to be more average because it averages it out.
Okay.
Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Let's discuss, what is a goal for our A1C?
Oh, 5.0 is awesome. That would be a great goal to have.
Okay, it's good. It's good to kind of know these numbers so we can have some goals. And then how about our blood glucose reading? Where do you prefer that it is?
So the glucose is going to be changing all the time. So if you're in Canada, between 4 and 5 is a good place to be. If you're in the United States or in other areas where they use the milligrams per deciliter, then your glucose should be between 70 and 90.
All right, good stuff here. Carl says I have a fasting glucose of 127.6, an A1C of 5.2. I should probably get my insulin tested. What is it called? And can my internal medicine doctor order it? Or should I have an endocrinologist order it?
Yeah, no, anyone can order it. Your internal medicine doctor can order it. Yeah, so the C-peptide is C-peptide, PEPTIDE. And then the other one, the insulin level, is just insulin level. So those are the other two tests. And here's a good example of, you have somebody with 127, which is an elevated glucose on a fasting specimen, indicates possible insulin resistance, but we don't know what the insulin is. And the hemoglobin A1C looks really normal. 5.1 is a normal level. That's actually a really good level. So does that mean he goes up and then goes too low, and that's why it averages out? And so we're looking at both the immediate, which is insulin glucose, and the average, which is C-peptide hemoglobin A1C, to give us a good idea of how your system is working.
Okay, so then again, what if his number is 127.6 or 127.6, but then it also drops really low? What does that tell us?
Well, his average is going to be normal, but what it means is that he still has insulin sensitivity, but his pancreas is responding with too much insulin, and so the blood glucose is dropping low.
All right, couple questions about the continuous glucose monitor. And so it's always fun to find out if you use those or not. I may do another poll for that. But Allison said, I just started using a continuous glucose monitor for a month or so. Can you tell me my blood sugar at 7 a.m. is 113, and at 8 a.m. it jumps up to 148. All I did was get out of bed and take a shower. I'm curious. My sugar goes up and down 30 to 40 points with no reason. Thank you.
Okay. Number one, the continuous glucose monitors are not to be used as an accurate measure of your blood glucose. The purpose for the continuous monitors are to help you to see how things that you're doing affect your blood glucose. So here we have the sunrise effect, right? You get up in the morning and you haven't eaten anything. All you did was take a shower, and boom, your blood glucose is 140. What the heck? What happened? A couple of things happen. One is, as you start moving and doing stuff, you start using glucose. So if your glucose starts dropping down, your pancreas will make something called glucagon. And glucagon tells your liver to make sugar. So you actually your liver's like pumping out sugar into your blood. And so your blood glucose is going up like crazy, and you didn't eat anything. You don't have to eat anything. That's the point about it, is that the purpose for the glucagon is to prevent you from getting hypoglycemic, or low blood sugar, low blood glucose. So the sunrise effect happens for a couple of different reasons. One is that you haven't eaten in a long time, and now all of your regulation has to come from your pancreas and liver. That's part of it. The other part of it is that in the morning you release cortisol, your adrenal hormones that make you resistant to insulin. So your cortisol goes up really high in the morning, and so now you're resistant to insulin. So your pancreas puts out insulin, but you're resistant to it. So your glucose goes up a lot higher. It's okay, it's fine, it's not a problem. But that's really interesting, because especially with continuous monitors, CGMs, people are noticing that more. They're going, wow, this is, a real effect, this sunrise effect.
Very interesting and very cool. About 25% of you are using a continuous glucose monitor right now, which is growing because it used to be much less than that not too long ago. So that's exciting, though. It's just such a neat way to monitor. Let's see here. Joby, I have read that berberine will make you lose weight. Is that a possibility?
Yes. Berberine's the magical fruit. It does absolutely everything. Yes, it does help with weight loss because it tells your body to burn fat for energy instead of sugar, glucose. So you actually start using fat with berberine. It also helps heart disease. It helps lower cholesterol or improve cholesterol numbers. And it improves glucose levels for the same reason. You're using fat instead of glucose. Your blood sugar goes down with berberine, and it helps you live longer, and it'll bring world peace.
We do keep hearing more and more about it. So, I mean, that wouldn't be shocking to me, I guess. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I want you guys to see what the Barton Nutrition site looks like. Are you seeing that, Dr. Saunders?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you guys go to bartonnutrition.com, you'll see a list of our supplements. And I'll just tell you right now, Dr. Saunders, he doesn't get super excited about supplements. He tests a lot of people. He just finds that people are deficient in a lot of things. And so that's where a lot of this comes from. But berberine seems to be a little bit different. It just seems to be this really cool thing that we keep talking about. So if you're interested in that, guys, it's real easy. You just click on your berberine here. There's actually even a little video. You scroll, you'll see Dr. Saunders talking about it in case you forget what it does or you want to learn more. If you use code webinar25, you'll save 25% on anything that we have here. You can also find the diabetes solution kit. You can find any of that for 25% off. So webinar25 is your code. Again, that is Barton Nutrition. And we have all sorts of things. Synachroma is another really popular supplement that we talk about on these webinars. That's there. We talked about magnesium, I think, last week. Lots of good stuff here. I think everyone loves the fiber greens. Comment in the chat if you're using fiber greens. Just curious about that as well. So, okay. Here we go. All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. Let's see. Connie says, oh, she's been reading up on berberine as well, and she wants to start taking it, but her doctor gave her a frank no. Wondering why. Also, do you have anything in your arsenal that would help speed up losing the body fat?
Okay, so the reason the doctor says no, I don't know why your doctor said no, but the reason we were told to tell people no is because if you don't know about something, then the answer is no. So whatever I don't know about, then I just say no, don't do that, because I don't know what effect that'll have on you. And you can think that that would make sense. You know, if someone's taking medications and you don't know if that supplement or vitamin or whatever is going to interact with your medication that you're prescribing, then yeah, don't take it, because I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. But in actuality, berberine has been around for centuries. It's been used for centuries. It can be used with any medication, and it'll help you live longer. It's even used for cancer in pretty high doses and with no side effects. Yeah, no, there's no problem with it.
Great. Karen says, my doctor said my lab showed too much protein in the urine. What is that about? This was discovered 3 months after I was diagnosed with type 2.
Okay, that is important. That's important. So we do have a webinar on kidney disease in diabetes. And so that would be one to go look up. So what happens is normally you have the blood comes into a filter and goes through this filter, just like a coffee filter. And so the water part of the blood comes out, and the rest of it, which has proteins in it and cells, like all your red blood cells and white blood cells and immune proteins and all that, stays in and keeps going and goes back into the blood and mixes with the blood. And this fluid that's coming out is just fluid and soluble stuff. So it has all the sodium and the glucose and the potassium and whatever is soluble in the water comes through. So what happens in diabetes is, because you don't repair very well, it's a problem with repair. The filters, then it starts getting little teeny holes in it. It's like somebody at night comes in to your coffee machine and starts poking holes and pinholes in all your coffee filters, and you can't tell the difference. And so you use it and you start seeing all this sediment in the bottom of your coffee cup. You're going, what the heck? How did that sediment get there? So you check out the filter and you find out, someone put pinholes. Well, that's kind of what's happening in your kidneys. Your kidneys have pinholes in the filter. And so the proteins are leaking through. They're not supposed to. Proteins are supposed to stay in the blood. But the proteins are coming out through the filter because there's holes in your filter. That's really important. That means if your proteins are getting out, it means you can't filter things very well. And that means your kidneys are damaged and they're not repairing. So first thing to do, you can go to our webinar on kidney and kidney function and kidney repair. That's important. But let me just give you a brief what to do. Number one, do the diabetes solution kit faithfully, like clean. Like, don't go over 20 grams of carbohydrates. Do that. And number two, don't eat a high protein diet. So high protein creates more of the, urea, creatinine, all the things that are kind of toxic. They have to be filtered out by the kidneys. So it's okay to have some protein, but don't go carnivore on the low carb diet, right? Eat a lot of fiber if you can, and that would be all of the free foods, the broccoli and cauliflower and lettuce and spinach and cucumber, all that stuff. So low protein, low carb, do that. And then, doesn't have to be low protein, just avoid a high protein. And then take a half a teaspoon of baking soda. That's sodium bicarbonate. And in water, half a cup of water. It doesn't really matter how much water. It doesn't even matter that you put it in water. You can put it in juice or whatever, and drink that down every day. That's been shown to halt the progression to dialysis.
Wow.
So those are just kind of the basics to get started.
Very interesting. Someone actually mentioned, oh, here it is. Susan said she's reading Dr. Sebi's Cure for Diabetes book, and he said type 2 diabetes is a clogged pancreas and requires an alkaline diet. Just her summary of what she's read so far. Do you agree with that? And when I think of alkaline, I also think of baking soda. Yeah, just that helps. So
yeah. So an alkaline diet is helpful. It's helpful. Your enzymes actually work better, and that's including the pancreatic enzymes and the enzymes that help you make energy using glucose and fat and all that. They function better on an alkaline environment. So having an alkaline diet is a good idea.
okay. Willa said, do we still take the vitamins that lower our blood sugar 5 days on and 2 days off, or just our regular vitamins?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like synochroma, 5 days on, 2 days off. We start with them like every day until you get a good control. And once you're under good control, because of your diet, by the way, not because of the synochroma, once you're under good control, then yeah, you can take them 5 days on, 2 days off. And most things, if you take them for long periods of time, every day, you do lose sensitivity to that vitamin or nutrient or whatever it is.
I do want to mention too, that if you are looking to reverse your type 2, the magic happens in the diabetes solution kit. The supplements really just help you. Those are the things that Dr. Saunders has found that many people are deficient in. So if you're deficient in something, it's harder to really find the success of this, correct?
Yeah.
But this is the bread and butter.
So I said good control, and I didn't define that word. Somebody asked. So good control means if you're in the United States, your fasting blood glucose is between 70 and 90. And if you're in Canada, it's between 4 and 5.
Okay. All right. Okay. Dwayne is wondering if we could discuss the use of alcohol, how it might impact type 2, or what are your thoughts about it?
Okay, so alcohol is a sugar. It's actually used as a sugar, made into sugar. It's becomes like glucose, and it does cause the release of insulin, so it can induce insulin resistance. So I don't recommend alcohol. In fact, in the book, I think we've said avoid alcoholic beverages, beer, wine, whatever, during the time that you're doing phase 1. And then when you're in phase 2, if you add in a beer, then you have your CGM going shooting up like there. You go, darn, can't eat that or drink that.
Yeah, I've got a quick related question. I've got a friend, he's actually type 1. He's pretty young. He's like 25. And he says, he's like, this probably isn't good. He doesn't take insulin yet, but he's like, this probably isn't good. But if I ever crave sweets, I just have it with some alcohol. Cause I'm like, so does, like you said, the alcohol.
Well, it would depend on the alcohol too. Like
yeah,
if
I'm
you're drinking
curious.
like a margarita versus straight tequila, there's going to be a difference.
Yeah, I mean, a shot of vodka. I mean, I don't think that's healthy, obviously. So,
I don't
but
think so either.
But there is some research out there. Like we have our rum soaked peanuts that talks about like a little bit. I think it's like a half an ounce or something like that can actually help lower blood sugar. But I don't know. There's other reasons to avoid it as well. But I'm just curious, like, how does that work? Like, why does alcohol do that? Is it because it brings in the insulin, which then lowers? Except if you're type 1, you wouldn't have insulin. So
right. So no, that's outside of my realm of information. I don't actually know how alcohol increases the insulin resistance.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So we're not totally sure. And I think it depends on what you're drinking also, Dwayne. So, I mean, we do talk about alcohol a lot on the webinars. It's a little risky because It also can disrupt your sleep, for example, if you're drinking. And if you're disrupting your sleep, that can create a whole host of problems in your body, especially if you have type 2. So there's a lot that can be discussed, I think, about alcohol and the effects that it'll have on your body. I want to ask a question that someone had emailed me here. Okay.
Maybe we should do a webinar on alcohol.
Yeah, we probably should.
I'll
It's a
research
question
it
that
and we
comes
can
up a
do
lot.
that.
Okay. Let me see. Susan says, I'm still doing phase 1. My weight is not changing. I'm stuck at 165 pounds, give or take a couple pounds. I'm menopausal at 66 years old, mostly belly fat. I'm so discouraged and disgusted lately. I'm still insulin resistant. How long does it take to get insulin sensitive? I need to see light at the end of the tunnel. I do strength training, Pilates reformer, down to 2 meals a day, increased fiber. Ever since going 2 meals a day, I have OGITA, ODGITA at night. So gas and reflux, I think. I take berberine, cytochroma, iodine, apple cider vinegar, and magnesium. What am I not doing right?
Okay, you're exercising. You're eating fewer than 20 grams of carbohydrates a day. You are taking supplements, so you're not deficient in anything specific, likely. You're eating 2 meals a day, so you have, well, I don't know how many hours, but 18 hours or whatever as long as you're clean fasting. So here's some possible ideas, and that is some people have 2 meals a day, and they may have a snack or something, or chew gum, or have drinks that have flavor in them or something, or a coffee with cream and sugar or something. Consider possibly, is there anything between your 2 meals a day that you're having that could be contributing to that? Or anything with flavor, like chewing gum has 0 calories, right? It's artificially sweetened xylitol gum or something, and yet that can induce insulin resistance as well. And then consider other possibilities of stress. We talked about, and I've often given the story because it's such an extreme example of Julie that had stress-induced diabetes, and she didn't even have diabetes until she was under stress. And so if there's a lot of stress in your life that's causing cortisol release, that can induce insulin resistance, and then you can have diabetes, and it has nothing to do with your diet, and it has nothing to do with medications or vitamins or whatever. So that's a possibility. So between those 2 things, that would be the best thing to do. The next step that I would do if I was in that situation is test all those 4 tests again: the glucose and insulin, the immediate, and then the hemoglobin A1C and C-peptide long term, to see if that's what the issue is.
What do you think about hormones playing a role in some of this as well?
Well, there's one hormone that definitely plays a role, and that's the cortisol. Cortisol is the adrenal hormone that induces insulin resistance. The other hormones, like sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, have very little effect on the blood glucose in the immediate sense.
Okay. All right. Aubrey says, how does butyrate relate to exercise?
That's interesting. So, and butyrate is what your body creates when you're burning fat for energy. And it's the keto in a ketogenic diet. And so we're hoping people will exercise so that they burn up, so that, remember, those cells are packed with glucose and glycogen, which is like a starch, and it's all that glucose, sugar in there, carbohydrate. And so if you're exercising and you use all that up, and you're on the phase 1 of the program, and you're not taking in all those extra carbs, then what does your muscle have to work on? Well, fat. And then you'll make butyrate like crazy, and that's really good.
All right. All right. Lots of questions left. So I'm going to try to get through as many as I can. Someone is asking about berberine. Can you take berberine at the same time as other supplements like Synachroma?
Yes. Yeah. Berberine's fine with other supplements, fine with medications. We get a lot of questions about, can I take berberine with metformin because they kind of work in the same way? Yeah, they don't work on the same system. They just sort of work in the same way.
Rosalind says, I went to a free evaluation for nerve damage. I'm limited in my walking from having a laminectomy. And from that, I ended up with stenosis. So I'm trying to find out how much nerve damage I have so I would know my limitations. Anyway, I went to this free evaluation and they used an infrared program to evaluate me. What he showed me was the blood in my legs. But when he came to my feet, he said it showed I do not have any blood flow in both feet, which was blue. So I left wondering, how am I walking? Why don't I have sores? Why do I see blood in my feet? And how come when I took the test to show if I had pulse, there was blood flow? He said he mainly treats diabetics. He said something like a TENS unit that can replenish the cells. What do you think about the infrared to diagnose diabetics?
Okay, infrared's okay. That's something that the energy goes infrared energy goes through the skin and hits the chromophores in your mitochondria, turns on the energy production of the cells. But if your feet are blue and you don't have good circulation, it's not about the macro circulation. So you're saying that you have blood flow into there from the arteries, the big arteries. But what they're measuring in that other test is the little teeny arteries. It's the arterioles. And so you don't have blood flow through the tiny vessels. Okay, take Synachroma. That's what Synachroma repairs, is that, the tiny arteries. And that's where you get the benefit from that. And definitely continue exercising as much as you can, because if you don't exercise, then you won't improve that blood flow.
All right. Let's see. Julie said my internet's kind of cutting out a little bit, I think, here. So sorry if I missed something, but Julie, I think she's on the webinar. She had sent an email. Let me find this. Okay, I'm not keeping track of this very well. Okay, where do you get continuous glucose monitors?
Prescription. So the doctor prescribes them as a general rule, but you can go online and you can get a continuous glucose monitor. You can just buy one, but most pharmacies won't sell it to you without a prescription.
I am seeing, I think it's NutriSense and Levels maybe, or something like that offer some type of a program. I don't know enough about them, but I am going to look into them about some options for people who maybe aren't able to get a prescription for it. Or maybe you don't even have type 2, but you want to be able to look at that. Okay, let's see. Good question. Morris says, on your comment about drinking too much water, what about when the weather is very hot? Doesn't it make sense to drink more water, especially for an elder person? And I will just tell you, I see a lot of people right now that are going for more salt in order to replace electrolytes. Like Redmond salt, or they're doing those IV therapy drinks instead of a bunch of water. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's fine. Getting enough salt's important. It was very common.
Did I cut out, or is it Dr. Saunders?
I don't know. Is it me? No, mine's good. It was very common when people worked outdoors to have actually salt tablets, that people had to eat extra salt to maintain their blood volume. And so they weren't just drinking, bottles of water. They actually took salt pills with it. So yeah, the extra salt can be important if you're sweating a lot. So when it's hot and you're sweating a lot, salt your food more, or take more salt. Or some people put a pinch of salt in their water. That's okay. Yeah, fine. Drink water when you're thirsty. What I'm saying is, don't pound the water and say, I got to force down this gallon of water before noon, which I've seen nurses do that in the nursing home. I'm like, really? They have this whole gallon and they've got to drink the whole thing before noon. No, you don't have to do that. That's the point I'm making, is you don't want to deplete your body of sodium and potassium and chloride that are necessary to maintain your volume in your body. So yeah, get enough water. If you're thirsty, drink water. And if you're and if you're low in salt or sweating a lot, yeah, make sure you get salt. Salt your food. Get enough salt.
Any thoughts about how we can stop eating late at night?
Yeah, don't eat after 6. You know what? I get that. That's hard for me too. That I find myself snacking at night. I get hungry at night. My wife had a good thought though, and she said a lot of people mix up their feelings. Like when they're tired, they'll go eat something. Like because one of the kids came in and said, "I'm hungry," and she says, "No, you're not. You're tired." You go, "I'm hungry." "No, you're not. You're tired. Go lay down." He's not. "I'm not tired." And then he goes and lays down, and like 2 minutes later, he's like sound asleep. So if you look at it from that point of view, and you say, "Okay, am I really hungry? Maybe I'm thirsty. Maybe I should just have a little bit of water," and then that helps me. I often will drink water at night if I feel like hungry. I have the munchies, and I go into the kitchen. Yeah, maybe I'm tired. Maybe I need to go to sleep. I don't know.
Is Leslie frozen?
I think Leslie's frozen.
Oh,
I keep freezing. I don't
Frozen
know.
in time.
You're gonna have to wrap up for me, Joe.
that could be trouble.
I
Well,
don't
Dr.
know.
Saunders, it's top of the hour. We're going to let you go see patients. This has been an amazing hour again. Thank you so much. And next week, we might be talking about muscles possibly and how that affects blood sugar and all that. So,
Okay.
oh, Leslie's
Bye.
gone. So I guess I'll just close myself here. Well, hi, everyone. I've been in and out of the webinar today. And but always good stuff. Episode 202 here on the blood sugar webinar, fixed blood sugar. Dr. Saunders is amazing. We'll give him a round of applause. Love that guy. Leslie does a great job facilitating this. So blessed with the team that we have. Hope that we've been helping you on your journey. And just a few housekeeping things. You may have already heard this, but go to Barton Webinar. BartonWebinar.com is the place to go if you want to register for this webinar. If you're watching a recording of this, you can register and then join us live on Zoom like we're doing right now. There's also another webinar that is tomorrow. It's all about heart health. Dr. Saunders and Leslie and Cheryl from our team hop on as well, but Dr. Saunders teaches on heart health tomorrow. Every Thursday at noon Central Time, I believe it is. So if you want to register for that, go to bartonwebinar.com, check it out there. And then all of our supplements that Dr. Saunders has formulated, which are all based on nutritional deficiencies that he's seen in his patients over thousands of tests. All of the products there are on bartonwebinar.com if you scroll to the bottom, or go to bartonnutrition.com. That's really like our main website for our products. If you're looking for the ebook programs or the digital programs, or if you want to get a printed copy, like we've got the Healthy Heart Report and the Diabetes Solution Kit. Those are available on bartonpublishing.com. You can check those out. And because you're a treasured guest here on the webinar, you can use a coupon code and save an additional 25% off. So you just got to pop in that webinar 25 is the promo code. Put that in when you're checking out and you'll save 25% off your entire order. Let's see, what else can I tell you? It's end of July, and hopefully that you guys are enjoying your summers. It's been hot a lot in the various parts of the country in the US. And so, hey, go out in the mornings, go out in the evenings, get your steps in, shoot for 10,000 steps a day if you can. We're going to be talking more about the importance of maintaining muscle and building muscle, even into your 60s, 70s, and 80s, because muscle is so important in your metabolism. And I've been studying some things. One of the teachers that I've been following, she puts it in a really unique way. She's like, it's not about like losing fat as much as it is gaining or maintaining muscle. It's really all about the muscle, and because muscle will get you through sickness and illness, and it'll prevent injury. It'll keep your metabolism higher. It allows you to have a little bit extra carbohydrates if you happen to do that. And there's just a lot of important things that we're learning about in muscle. So join us next week for that webinar. Dr. Saunders will be back. I got to get a few workouts in before that. I've been traveling, and honestly, I haven't been disciplined enough to get my workouts in while traveling. And I'm like feeling the effects of it. And like keeping your core strength is important too. But like, yeah, my lower back kind of got tweaked out yesterday. So I was walking really slow and like couldn't bend over and all that kind of stuff. And then a few weeks before that, I got injured. I got hit in the leg with my cousin's knee. We were playing football, and he banged into me at my dad's birthday party out in the parking lot playing with my cousins and cousin and his kids. And man, that put me out for like 3 weeks. I couldn't walk very good. And so, but like, it's all about like keeping those muscles, keeping that, keeping strong. And I know we've seen, as we've sent emails out in Barton Publishing talking about muscle wasting, that's a big issue. And so we're going to keep learning about how to grow and keep our muscles strong. So hopefully you guys are getting a lot of stuff from our webinars. We archive all of these. They're all on YouTube. Just find our Barton webinar channel on YouTube. You can go back and watch 200 previous webinars that we've recorded with Dr. Saunders. We usually get those up within a week or two. I mean, it's just a great resource for you guys. And I just encourage you, like, keep following the advice that you learn in the solution kit, the diabetes solution kit. The more things that you stack on top of each other, like eating low carb, getting plenty of sleep, reducing your stress, going to bed on an empty stomach, taking the right nutritional supplements, proper nutrition, avoiding different foods and energy or foods and drinks that are not good for you. What else? There's a few other things. Detoxification. Like there's so many, if you're doing all of those things, like the more of those that you can add on into your life, the healthier you're going to be, the more health, freedom, and mobility you're going to experience, the better blood sugar numbers you're going to have, the more likely you're going to prevent major episodes like heart attack, stroke, all that kind of stuff. Work with your doctor too. Like start doing these things, watch your blood sugar, tell your doctor like, hey, I've been eating healthier. I've been like taking some chromium and different things that are helping my blood sugar numbers come down. Can I get off this metformin? Because I don't want to be on metformin anymore. Work with your doctor. If you explain to them what you're doing and that it's working, that it's showing up in your numbers and that you've got new healthy habits and disciplines, like you can get off meds. We see it all the time. It's really just something that you have to commit to, but also believe in. Like if you have to believe that you can actually do it. And that's one of the beautiful things on this webinar is you see other people that are part of this, that are engaged in the chat, sharing their stories, sharing their testimonials, like it's working. And like our friends, Vilo and Barbie Garcia will say, hey, if we can do it, anyone can. And that's just a great thing to be thinking like, yeah, this isn't rocket science. There's no reason that everyone on this call can't overcome blood sugar issues and get it. Because we've got all the information in the solution kit. We've got Dr. Saunders, who's continues to learn and teach. He's a great teacher. And so just continue to like fill your mind with those positive things and teachings and things that you're learning, and you'll experience that success as well. So the more you know, the more successful you'll be. Let me see if there's a few questions here that are left that I might be able to answer. We still have 37 questions in the Q&A. Wowzers. Any 65% off sales on Synachroma? I don't know about 65% off, but we have had like a Synachroma warehouse sale in the past. So if you're on our email list, like a lot of times we'll send out some different offers. You can get free bottles of things, like it's like buy one, get two free, or buy four, get two. I don't know. They vary. Like you just have to watch the emails. Oftentimes we'll have some sales on Synachroma and our other supplements as well. like Healthy Gut Restore and Nervala and turmeric and magnesium and things like that, berberine. But if you buy the, the volume purchases from Barton Nutrition, like buy 3 or 6 bottles, then you can save on the per bottle cost. Plus you get the 25% off when you use webinar 25. So that's a great deal. Let me see if we've got any more. Many more questions here that I can answer. Okay, Cinechroma says take 1 a day on the bottle. What do you recommend, 1 or 2 a day? Really, it's personal preference. Like I know a lot of people that take 2 a day and some even more than that. Like I every once in a while I'll just pop 5 a day. Like you can't like OD on these things. So I wouldn't do 5 every day, but sometimes I miss a few days in a row. So I'll just take 5 and know I'm good for 5 days. And if you're like phase 1 and you're really just getting started, like having 2 or 3 a day, that helps kind of like build up your reserves or like fill up where things should be. And then you go to more like a maintenance plan with the Cinechroma. That's what I recommend. So, and it's really just like, how does your body feel about it? You should be able to feel like a difference in the energy levels with Cinechroma. Like if you don't have it for a day, or, if you get a little low, like you're probably going to feel that lack of energy. But so at least 1 a day. It's always good to start the day off with a low carb breakfast and a Cinechroma or 2. And then, all of our supplements can be taken together. Like Nervala is really good if you have neuropathy, nerve pain, and things like that. I take Nervala sometimes at night, just if I get like hot feet or restless legs or whatever, which hasn't been as big of a problem for me lately as I've tried to keep my carbs lower. What else? Let me look at some other questions. Can you get insulin resistance, fat burning instead of carbohydrates? Numbers in the 200, 300. That's probably Dr. Saunders' question, to be honest. Let's see. Unwise to drink alcohol, God's word says. I would agree for the most part. Alcohol doesn't have a whole lot of benefits. I would say the only thing that I think about with alcohol in the Bible is Jesus' first miracle was turning water into wine. Some people will say, I actually turned it into grape juice, but I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense because the good wine, Jesus said, like, or the guy at the wedding guy said, like, most people bring the good wine out first, and then after people are drunk, they bring in the not so good wine. Well, but you bring the good wine out last. So if it's good wine and it can get you drunk, then it must have been actual wine. So anyways, but I think the key there is moderation. The Bible says don't get drunk with wine, but it doesn't say you can't drink any wine at all. Now, there are some like Nazarene vows that people have had, like John the Baptist and Samson, where they didn't drink any alcohol. So there's definitely benefits. I would say in that case, like pray about it. Like, God, do you want me to drink alcohol, or is it okay if I have a little bit? And, here's another thing that might be helpful. So some people would ask, is it a sin to drink alcohol? Is it a sin to smoke cigarettes? Is it a sin to cuss? Well, maybe that's not the best question to ask. Maybe a better question is it smart or stupid to smoke cigarettes? Or is it smart or stupid to drink alcohol? Like there's a line there, like, it might just be stupid to smoke cigarettes. So do you want to do stupid things? Probably not. So maybe think of it that way. Not so much right or wrong, but is it healthy? So, yeah, anyways, that's me, my little soapbox. And, peanuts and rum. I addressed a little bit of the peanuts and rum. I think there was some studies that we found on PubMed that talked about how like half an ounce of alcohol and a handful of peanuts, 2 different studies that help to lower blood sugar. So we use that in our marketing. And hey, here's a whole nother, this is a fun little riff I'll go on. We have to do good marketing. We have to be good marketers in order to compete with all of the other garbage that's out there that's looking at trying to get your attention. And so we have great products. We have great information. And yeah, we come up with rum soaked peanuts sometimes to get people's attention. And because it's controversial, right? But we talk about it. Like we're here to, provide help and all of that. And so, but yeah, when you think about who we're competing against, like, oh, I could spend some time talking about this, like the big pharma, big medicine, big food, all those guys, like they are constantly marketing at us and advertising their things. Like you see commercials on TV. I think it's so dumb. Like really, you see these commercials about Farxiga or all these different things, and then they might have 20 seconds of, what it helps with, and then 40 seconds talking about all the side effects and like, discontinue use if it causes your tongue to fall off or your ears to turn yellow or your skin to peel or your heart to beat at 200 miles an hour or all these things. And meanwhile, they're showing you like all these like happy people having picnics in the sunshine. Like, really? You really think we're that dumb? Like, no. I think those commercials should all be illegal because they're deceptive and they're obviously not good for us if they have all of those side effects. It's like, but they make billions of dollars, so they spend all that money and they're just continuing to like brainwash us and make us think like medicine and chemicals and all that is good for us. But you guys all know better. Like I think that's why you're here. You get it. So I'm gonna head out here. I appreciate all of you guys. You got a little extra bonus time from Joe here. I miss being on these calls. I've been traveling a lot, so thanks for coming on here. And wish you guys all the best. Keep coming back to these webinars. Get your questions answered. And we just love helping you guys. Like that's core value number 2. Help people more. That's what this webinar is all about. We want to help you more. And we hope that we do that well with excellence, our whole team. Thanks you. And a shout out to Kevin, our Chief Operating Officer. He's celebrating his 12th year anniversary today with Barton Publishing. He really is the man. He runs our day-to-day operations, does an amazing job. We call him the shepherd. We call him Eagle Eye. And I just want to shout out to Kevin and thank him for his 12 years and hope we get another 12 or 24 out of him. So we have an awesome team and, we'd all do this together and wish you all the best. Like I said, God bless you guys. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.